The Canucks take back home ice advantage from the Oilers as the Bruins and Panthers series heats up. Hey everyone, welcome into Off the Post. Rob Wong, joined alongside by Toronto Sun Sports columnist Steve Simmons, Canucks reporter for the Vancouver Sun and the Province Patrick Johnston, and Postmedia hockey columnist Bruce Garrioch. Hey guys, I'll be the first to admit I did not think that the Canucks would be up 2-1 in this series, but here they are, Patrick, and I'm sure the confidence level starting to build in Vancouver. How have the Canucks found themselves 2 wins away from the Western Conference final?
Isn't this how the Stanley Cup playoffs always go? It's been so long, Vancouver. We have absolutely no idea. Listen, the Canucks have played strong defense, and they've got some luck, and they've gotten better goaltending than the Edmonton Oilers, I think is pretty much the story here. Connor McDavid also, they've managed, they kept him off the score sheet on Sunday night, kept him without a shot in game 1. That more than anything has been the story so far. I think this is a Canucks team that's showing that it's got some pluck, it's got some belief, and they're in the driver's seat, even if the Oilers have been showing better on offense.
I really think you have to look at Stuart Skinner, guys, and I think you just cannot get, Steve, the kind of goaltending that the Oilers have gotten through these playoffs. They haven't scored enough goals 5-on-5, Steve. But last night they did not get the saves that they needed. And you can't have that kind of goaltending and have a long playoff run. You just can't.
No, you can't. But I'm going to sort of move away from the goaltending narrative because I'm seeing a few other things as well. I'm seeing a Vancouver Canucks team that looks and plays like Rick Tocchet. That not one person, but the whole freaking lineup looks and plays like Rick Tocchet. And they come at you, and they come at you hard. They come at you hard with 4 lines all the time. The Oilers, when their 2 guys aren't on the ice, they're not much of a team. And they're not much of a team in goal. And they're not much of a team on defense. And they're not much of a team when a guy whacks your guy and you don't whack back. There's a lot of things about the Edmonton Oilers right now I don't like. For a team that's supposed to be Stanley Cup or bust, yeah, they have McDavid and they've got Draisaitl, they got Hyman, wonderful. 20 guys. 20. Vancouver Canucks are coming at you with 20 guys that all look and sound and smell like Rick Tocchet. And you know what? They can give him the coach of the year right now because if they win this series, bless him, he deserves it.
Just on that point, Tocchet finally changed up his lineup. He'd been very, very cautious to make any moves, whether it was defense or forward, but he brought in Linus Karlsson last night at forward. And obviously, not playing a ton, but he plays with Elias Pettersson. And just the way he played, the way he got on, he was a dog on a bone, right? Like he just got in everybody's face, made things difficult. And that is exactly what Tocchet wants his whole team to be playing. And that's why he's going to stay in the lineup. It's exactly like Steve said. They are skating hard. Tocchet hates his guys back-checking, skating backwards. He wants them going right at the puck carrier, taking the space away, making life difficult, making it hard to get up the ice. And of course, yes, Edmonton had tons of possession in that third period, but if you go and look at where they actually got their shots from, everything was from the outside. They didn't get inside very often. And that's not a formula for success, no matter how much you have the puck.
Over in the East, guys, there's a lot of bad blood that has spilled over from last year's series between the Panthers and the Bruins. Things were taken up a notch after Game 3 when Sam Bennett's hit knocked Bruins captain Brad Marchand out of at least Game 4. Bruce, what did you make of the play, and are you surprised that there was no supplementary discipline for Bennett?
Well, Rob, I was surprised there was no supplementary discipline when I saw the other angle. But, at the time, I thought that's just a hard hit, a clean hit, a hockey hit. Look, I appreciate Bennett. I think this guy is a junkyard dog. I think that he gives it all every time he's out there. I think that sometimes a guy like Brad Marchand is going to get what he gives. And, I certainly wouldn't put what Bennett did past a guy like Marchand because I think he would do that. But it seems to me, Steve, last year against the Leafs, weren't they all upset with Sam Bennett about a hit on Matthew Nyes during the series? I think that may have knocked Nyes out. But to me, I'm surprised. Am I surprised he didn't get anything? I'm surprised after I saw that other angle, but I am also not surprised he didn't get anything, if that makes any sense.
You got 30 general managers in a room and you asked them, if you could have Sam Bennett on your team, do you want him? And I think the hands would go up so fast that, they would be saying, yes, this guy, I like your junkyard dog analogy. This guy's a playoff warrior. I mean, that's what he is. And he plays a mean, hard game. And yeah, does he cross the line? Yeah, sometimes. But guess what? The guy he crossed the line on is a guy who crosses the line all the time. So it's like, I maybe look at it differently because of who the hit was on and because of how it happened. But you go back to Game 3, and there's Bennett knocking, I forget, the defenseman into Swayman on a goal that should have been called back, but that's Bennett. He's right in the middle of everything, which is why you'd want him on your team.
Vancouver Canucks fans know Sam Bennett very well, going way back to his rookie season, the 2015 playoffs, when everybody kept hearing about 18-year-old Sam Bennett. The guy plays hard. He plays with an edge. And the Canucks are glad they're not facing him. But if I'm the Florida Panthers, I'm feeling very lucky that the NHL has its strange inability to go back in time or accept any new evidence, because what we saw there was a guy who knew what he was doing, who punched a guy in the head, and Brad Marchand's now out. And love him or hate him, Brad Marchand is the star of the game, and we're supposed to be protecting stars. But I get what you're saying, Bruce or Steve. This is you get what you give, and that part is, going, okay, well, this has happened a few times. But at the end of the day, if we want this game to be a good game, we shouldn't be having guys punching guys off in the head off the puck when nothing's happening.
And because everything is always about the Maple Leafs, I should point out that the grand general manager of the Leafs, Brad Treliving, traded Sam Bennett to the Florida Panthers and traded Keith Tkachuk's son to the Florida Panthers. And I don't believe the Florida Panthers would be any good if they didn't have those two guys. And I'm not sure if I know. Last time I checked, the Calgary Flames weren't in the playoffs, and this guy is what do you call it? Blotting out the future for the Maple Leafs.
That is
beautiful.
Well, that's a great connection.
Yeah, perfect way to tie it back to all things Maple Leafs. But staying in the series, Steve, you mentioned it. There was that controversial goal scored by Bennett where he pushed Boston's Charlie Coyle into the goalie, Jeremy Swayman, before putting the puck in the net. Do we even know what goaltender interference is at this point?
No. And I blame the NHL for that. They just keep changing the rules, and they keep changing the interpretation of the rules and how they call it and when they call it. And I watch, and I don't even know anymore what is and what isn't. But last night I did something I rarely ever do. I read the rule. I read the rule after the goal was scored. And I read it very slowly to make sure I knew what it meant. And boy, was it clear. If you as a player cross-check someone into the goalie that moves him to the side, that in fact gives you the ability to score, guess what? Goal doesn't count. Except in that little room in Toronto where last night it counted, and I'd love for somebody to tell me why.
Look, Patrick, it's always a coin flip, right? I've always felt that you never, when a coach challenges for goaltender interference, it's always a coin flip. You never know how they're going to feel from day to day. I got to be honest, I wasn't surprised that goal counted. I didn't think it was really as egregious as everybody else thought it was. I think that I felt like, the guy's on the doorstep, gets the puck after that happens, and boom. I didn't think it's always a coin flip, but I didn't think that one was that bad.
You could have called either cross-checking or interference. Take your pick.
The one thing I go to is on goalie interference, and we've seen a few of these this year in Vancouver. I think everybody's seen them, but there's specific ones we've looked at. Is in the end, could the goalie play his position? And in general, the NHL tends to err on the side of the goalie and say, listen, he couldn't move his foot or whatever. But yes, there's lots of instances where they seem to contort themselves and say, well, not this time. And for whatever reason, they did that this time because, as Steve said, the rule's pretty clear. You can't push a guy into the goalie and gain an advantage. The NHL, I think, more than anything, needs to sit back. I think they need to look at their rule book, get a committee together, get some current refs, get some recently retired refs, maybe get some players, and sit down and say, how do we clean this up? How do we make this clear so that everyone understands what's going on and stuff doesn't get lost? Because it feels like stuff gets lost a lot of the time because there's just too many scenarios, there's too many options, and there's too many random thoughts in the rule book. It should be, can you foul a guy or not, and should it be a goal? It's pretty simple to me.
They're using the rule book from the SBHL, which is the Sam Bennett Hockey League. So there is no supplementary discipline, and there is no goals called off. Oh no, and I love playoffs, and I love the fact that it's mean and hard. But I think if you cross-check a guy into your goalie and he moves to the left, and you're putting the puck in on the right, then guess what? Shouldn't count.
Yeah, something tells me Sam Bennett will not be the last time we talk about him in these playoffs. He'll be making many more headlines moving forward here with the way the Panthers are playing. But as always, leave your thoughts in the comments section below. For Steve Simmons, Patrick Johnston, and Bruce Garrioch, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.